It was less than a month ago when everything changed. I'm a senior in high school, born and raised in Nevada, and there's little to do here except for one thing: urban exploring. My friends and I have always been drawn to the forgotten places. Abandoned buildings, decaying malls, old service tunnels, anything that felt like it had been lost to time. We'd slip through broken fences, take eerie photos, sometimes sneak to the tops of roofs or deep into basements. It wasn't about causing trouble, but about the strange, unsettling vibe that those places gave off. And the one in our group who always led us to the strangest, most unnerving spots? That was Charles. Quiet, mysterious Charles. He'd turn up, with new locations, places we had never heard of, and half the time I never asked how he found them. One day, Charles sent us a screenshot from an obscure Instagram account, a low-followed page, blurry images, odd and unsettling comments under each post. The caption on the photo simply read, "Dozens of abandoned mine shafts in the Mojave Desert, if you know where to look." Charles claimed he'd been in contact with the person behind the account, and they gave him directions to several hidden places. That was all Charles needed. He was obsessed. So that Saturday, it was me, Charles, and James out in my Wrangler, ready for an off-road desert adventure. We didn't have exact coordinates, just a vague location in the middle of the Mojave Desert. Charles had marked a spot far from civilization, a place that felt abandoned by both time and people. We turned off the main road, driving for what felt like hours. No signs, no structures, just endless sand and rock. James was getting frustrated, saying we'd been scammed by some troll on Instagram, but Charles insisted we kept going, stubborn as ever. Eventually, just as we were about to turn back, James spotted something, a half-collapsed wooden structure built into the side of a slope. It was barely visible, but it was there. We were close. Charles didn't say much at first. He just pulled out his phone and dropped a pin on the map. "Told you," he muttered. James grumbled something about luck, but even I had to admit it was wild. We had somehow found it. I parked near the entrance and we geared up. Charles even brought masks for us. As we approached the mine shaft, the place looked even more eerie up close. Charles tossed a rock inside, and we waited. The sound echoed in the dark, a hollow clang that stretched into nothing. The air grew colder, the silence more oppressive. As we descended, the shaft sloped steeply, the ground uneven and loose. The deeper we went, the more oppressive the air became. It was unnervingly quiet, the kind of silence that presses against your chest. When we reached the bottom, the tunnel opened up into a larger chamber, littered with rusty rails and splintered beams. The place reeked of old dust and decay, a forgotten relic of a time that had long since passed. We started walking, our flashlights slicing through the darkness, but the deeper we went, the more something felt off. That's when we heard it. Faint at first, like the sound of something scraping against the ground, metal or wood dragging slowly across the floor. I thought I imagined it, but I looked over at Charles. He had stopped too. James, already on edge, gestured for us to turn off our flashlights. The darkness swallowed us whole. The scraping sound came again, closer this time. It wasn't an animal, not like anything we'd heard before. It was slow, deliberate, like something dragging its weight closer to us. We stood there, listening, hearts pounding, the silence stretching unnervingly long. Then, as if on cue, James flicked his flashlight on, just for a second. The scraping stopped. The air grew thick with silence, the kind that crushes you. And then, out of nowhere, there was a sharp, metallic clang from deep within the tunnel, followed by a scream. It was not human. It was guttural, inhuman, and it echoed off the walls like the cry of something twisted. That was when we ran. We didn't care how loud we were, how frantic we sounded. We bolted. I was trailing behind, tripping on the uneven ground, my heart racing in terror. I lost a shoe somewhere, but there was no time to stop. Charles and James were already halfway up the incline, scrambling toward the exit. I felt every pain in my body, every splinter as I clawed my way out, half barefoot. The adrenaline was the only thing keeping me going. When we finally made it back to the car, I was barely conscious, my foot a bloody mess. James drove us out, fast and silent, not stopping, until we reached the nearest hospital. The pain was unbearable, but all I could think about was the sound, the scream that hadn't been human, the thing that was down there. A few days later, James told us something disturbing. He'd lost his wallet near the shaft. We figured we should go back to get it. So we drove out again, but when we arrived, we found something else, my shoe. It was lying by the entrance, chewed up and torn apart as though something or someone had gnawed on it. Teeth marks were all over it, and there was no rational explanation for it. We didn't stick around. We couldn't. Charles later reached out to the Instagram account for answers, but there was no response. That was the last time I ever thought about exploring the desert. That place, that thing in the tunnel, it was never meant to be